Well, good morning. And I owe you, Marlise, for that nice compliment to make me raw as we start here. All right, well, this morning we're going to hear a number of different stories of transformation, resilience, and hope. My story is a little bit different than others. I never really struggled with addiction or spent any time in prison. Mine was an invisible prison in my mind based on years of conditioning and shaping. Born out of my wounds from just living on this planet, I sought to cover and avoid them through socially acceptable behaviors that I was rewarded for by our system and other people. Behaviors such as perfectionism, overachieving, controlling, avoiding conflict, and the need to earn people's acceptance and love for a sense of belonging on this planet. I limited my emotions. I never got too happy or too sad. And unbounded joy or the deep wells of grief just weren't accessible for me. For the most part, I spent decades being who I thought others thought I should be, based on my cultural conditioning. I was in a sense homeless because I never really found a home in myself. And I was addicted to shaping myself to receive acceptance of others. But slowly, all of that began to change. It started with a stroke at the age of 42, which was really a sledgehammer to my illusion of control and invincibility. This was followed by several years of deep depression, which I failed to accept, ignoring doctors' recommendations for antidepressants and outside support. I was too proud and well-trained in the pull yourself up by your bootstraps way of thinking and living our life. Seeking help felt weak, and it came with a sense of shame for me. And after many lost years of suffering silently, I found my way to yoga and extended times in nature, alone in solitude. And for me, the clouds actually eventually began to lift, and I began to see that maybe I wasn't broken. As I look back, I can see this was preparing me for what was to come next on the journey. It was kind of tilling the soil, if you will, and the journey I've been on for the last 5 years. Now, if you had told me 5 years ago that I would be speaking in front of 900 policymakers, behavioral health professionals, community leaders, I would have thought you were crazy. Because 5 years ago, I was running the management consulting company that I founded in 2002. We were busy helping large organizations create strategies and transform their cultures and develop their leaders. 5 years ago, I did not have my eye on the behavioral health field at all, and let alone working with youth or young adults or marginalized or system-impacted youth. Then an opportunity came about to put my program management and strategy skills to work to develop a youth peer mentor program to address the opioid, fentanyl, and meth crisis gripping California and the youth in our state. I believe our team's work has had a positive impact, but the one thing I can say for certain is that it radically transformed my life. Too early for this. And I will never be the same. You see, I went into this work as a strategist and a planner and a program manager. And I came out the other side more in touch with my humanity. Great. And the humanity of others. And as you can see, my day-to-day work environment has changed a bit too. It all started with our first cohort in our 8-week pilot project at the Division of Juvenile Justice. And as program manager, I was on site to ensure everything ran smoothly. But something changed. As I sat in the back of the room and I listened to their stories, it broke my heart. I no longer saw them as criminals and degenerates and people who were getting what they deserved for their actions. I saw their humanity, I saw their goodness, I saw their pain, and I saw that I was no different from them. And I saw that their story could have been mine. The way they accepted me and greeted me in the morning with a hug, or asking if I was coming back the next day, it touched me, as you can see. Our lives might have looked different on the outside, but we found common ground in our humanity, and not in our titles, positions, or stories of the past. That all just kind of disappeared and vanished. A new level of compassion began to emerge in me, and I wanted to participate in alleviating their suffering and help lift them towards a brighter future. I wanted to call out of them their highest potential, not the story that they had come to believe about themselves, nor the stories that society had so cruelly put on them. I saw leaders and entrepreneurs and engineers and coaches and teachers and counselors. For a reason I can't fully explain, I saw beyond their past. I saw the light inside them and the dormant potential wasting away inside those walls. Engaging in this work was the beginning of a great unraveling for me. Unraveling of long-held belief systems and stories about myself, others, and the world we all lived in. It was painful and humbling, to be honest. But it expanded my field of view, and it triggered a sense of curiosity about myself, my own pain, my blind spots, and how others experience the world. This curiosity and a desire for deeper understanding took over. While building out the Youth Peer Mentor Program, I immersed myself over the next couple of years in classes and training, in trauma and somatics, and working with adolescents on mental health and substance use, neuroscience, mindfulness, nature-based practices, as well as perennial and indigenous wisdom. This ultimately led me to get a master's degree, as Marley said, in transpersonal ecopsychology. But the greatest teachers for me have been the youth I get to work with and our partners across the state, most of whom have decades of life experience in incarceration, gang life, addiction, trauma, homelessness, prostitution, and being oppressed. Their stories of struggle, resilience, and transformation unlock doors from my own journey towards wholeness. And the lines between helper and helped began to vanish. Each step along the way, my beliefs and paradigms and worldviews and stories were challenged and being replaced by new experiences and what it meant to be human. I started seeing myself and my place in the world differently, and new possibilities began to emerge for me. I also started asking much different questions that don't have easy answers or simple solutions, but questions that I believe are relevant for our time in history. Questions such as, what does it mean to flourish? I like John Ehrenfeld's definition. He says, flourishing describes the condition of any living system in which the individual entities have achieved their potential. Can we honestly say we're flourishing today? Am I flourishing? Are you flourishing? Are youth flourishing? Gotta reach my pocket. I'm holding in my hand an acorn. Within this acorn exists the potential to become a giant oak tree. But that potential will never be realized if it doesn't come to rest in the nutrient-rich soil, receive ample sunlight and water. Those are the conditions required for it to reach its potential. The acorn sits near me in my office as a constant reminder about why we do what we do. It goes beyond providing substance use prevention education. We want to create the conditions for others to realize their potential, and that inside each of them is a mighty oak tree that wants to grow. I mean, isn't that our desire for ourselves, our own lives, for our families, our friends, our communities, and future generations? Shouldn't this be the goal of our work? The systems that we create and the people that we serve. Whether we are working to help people overcome addiction or address homelessness, rolling out prevention or harm reduction programs, implementing workforce programs, working with foster youth or justice-involved populations, isn't the ultimate vision to create the conditions for people to flourish and achieve their potential? Our systems, unfortunately, aren't producing the results we want, which is frankly why we're all gathered here over the next couple of days. The increase in substance use and addiction, the decline in mental health, the rise in suicide, the loneliness epidemic that was outlined in the Surgeon General's recent report, the rise in homelessness, income inequality, the increasing levels of distrust and polarization in our country, social and racial injustice, environmental destruction and degradation. These are just to name a few of the things that we face on a daily basis. And this is concerning to me, and I know it's concerning to all of you. 20 years ago, the American psychologist Uri Bronfenbrenner expressed his concerns when he wrote, "The major social changes taking place recently in modern industrial societies, especially here in the United States, may have altered environmental conditions conducive to human development to such a degree that the process of making human beings human is being placed in jeopardy." That was 20 years ago. How are we doing today at making human beings human? So, should we just throw in the towel? Well, I don't believe so. I believe we need to have the courage just to acknowledge the truth about the conditions our cultural systems are creating, how it's clawing away at our humanness, and to continue to work together to create the conditions for flourishing, first within our own lives, and then with the systems that we interact with. Now, in our little corner of the world, the concept of flourishing has served as a North Star with the development of the Youth Peer Mentor Program and influenced our person-centered approach, the program design, and the creation of an ecosystem of partners. I'm not suggesting this is the solution to our problems. I'm just offering it as a peek behind the curtain and some of the thinking and principles that went into its development, which I believe has some universal applications for all of us. What started as a pilot project at DJJ in 2019 has evolved into a program with over 40+ partners delivering in communities around the state, more than 150 facilitators that we've trained and certified, and 15 to 30 active groups serving 200 to 300 participants on any given month. And it continues to grow as we speak. Today, the Youth Peer Mentor Program serves to provide substance use prevention education and recovery support through our 12-week Mindfully Exploring Substance Use program. This is what provides the nutrient-rich soil for participants to show up in a safe, non-judgmental environment facilitated by other caring adults and youth peer mentors. They learn not only about the risks and negative effects of substance use, but also, more important, and maybe more importantly, about themselves, about their emotions, their family systems, their peer systems, their environment, and how those contribute to and influence their substance use and their vulnerabilities to addiction and other risky behaviors. They also come away with mindfulness tools to help them navigate the complexity of their world. I need to say, the magic is in the container and not in the content itself. It is the caring adults and mentors that create a space that provides the safety, upholds their dignity, and provides them with a sense of belonging place. This creates the condition for the youth and young adults to bring their whole selves just as they are and begin the process of realizing their potential and a hope for a different future. Those that complete the base Mindfully Exploring Substance Use program have the opportunity to go on to our peer mentoring program, which includes the opportunity to become a Medi-Cal peer support specialist for those that are over the age of 18, and on to become an SUD counselor as a professional pathway for those that may be interested. And then some of these youth then return to help co-facilitate groups and serve as peer mentors in the program. This pathway not only creates an opportunity for us to stay in relationship over an extended period of time so that we can continue to provide support and mentoring, but it gives the youth and young adults opportunity to turn their attention to helping others, increasing their sense of self-efficacy and a greater sense of meaning and purpose in their life. And in some small way, we're contributing to a much-needed behavioral health workforce. 2 years ago, we began to offer natural high retreats, where youth and young adults have the opportunity to experience time in nature, combined with prevention education, mindfulness practices, rock climbing, hiking, kayaking, and solo sit time on the land. This creates an opportunity for them to build connections not only with themselves, but with their peers, other caring adults, and the earth. Now, none of this would have been possible without building out an ecosystem of amazing partners who are also passionate about creating the conditions for youth to flourish in their communities and achieve their potential. Now, as demand for the program continued to grow over the years, we had to make a decision how best to support it. The message from the dominant culture would be to grow our company. Instead, we chose to create a vibrant ecosystem of partners around the state. It was not about increasing our footprint, but our influence and impact in the communities around us. We believe that by collaborating with nonprofits and CBOs and school districts and foster youth programs, homeless shelters, treatment programs, probation, prison, jails, reentry centers, that we could extend our influence and impact and provide much needed training and resources that were needed and to put them into the hands of other people who wanted to make a difference in the lives of others. We turned our attention to investing in them through training, coaching, planning, transmitting best practices, providing resources, encouragement and support, funneling opportunities their way, and connecting them with other partners so they can collaborate and support one another along the way, building an interconnected web and a sense of community across the state, both with the adults, the partners, and the youth that are participating. Not only were we seeking to create the conditions for individuals and youth to flourish, we want our partners to flourish. The majority of our facilitators and partners aren't clinical professionals. They are people with lived experience and now working in their communities to make the world a better place and create opportunities for others which they didn't have in their lives previously. Now, it's not working. There we go. It can become easy to become discouraged in the midst of the challenges we face. We're all working hard, and change doesn't always happen on our timelines. For our team, the hope is that in some small way we are establishing new patterns within the system, sending positive ripples out across the water. We know we may only be able to count the success within the first ring of impact, but we have confidence in the power and principles of systems thinking and the belief that what we practice at the small scale sets the pattern for the whole system. We are confident that if we ourselves practice relationality, interdependence, systems thinking, reciprocity, gratitude, and a mindset of abundance versus scarcity, we believe we'll be modeling and planting seeds for the kind of large-scale systems changes that are required to achieve a brighter future down the road. We really can't see the full magnitude and scope of the work we're doing, as I mentioned. Yeah, we can count how many youth attended a session, we can count how many graduated from our program, or how many facilitators were trained or new partners we onboarded. But what is the long-term ripple effect in a young person's life and the people and systems they will interact with over their entire lifespan? What is the long-term impact of training and resourcing those with lived experience and unleashing their creative energies towards making the world a better place? I am confident it will have a positive impact for generations to come and set new patterns in motion that will influence the whole system. Thank you. That is why we do the work we do. So now it is my privilege to welcome up my colleague and partner in this work, and but more than anything, just a friend and teacher. So thank you. And by the way, we need everyone to smile because we're going to take a family photo.